Okay, great. So my name is Ruby Zakowski.
Yep.
The organization that we're here for is OMFest Yoga Art and Music Festival, and that is put on by the business that I run, Shakti Yoga, with support of other local businesses and yoga teachers, musicians, other staff, sound engineers, volunteers. The mission of the festival is to bring together the community of artists, yoga teachers, and musicians that we have in this area, because there are so many, and I think that they're not underprivileged so much, but just like they're not being seen,
Right.
And we want to bring them to an area where they can be seen. And the vision really is to kind of bring them all together in this area where they maybe are meeting people they wouldn't meet otherwise, doing things they wouldn't do otherwise, taking yoga classes that they may have never taken, otherwise. So that's the goal. Got it. You got it right.
So tell me about the founding of the Shakti Tribe and what it is in the day-to-day operations there.
So I founded Shakti Yoga in 2018. The mission there is also pretty similar to the mission here, bringing people together to practice more yoga and to ultimately live a better, more well-rounded lifestyle, if you will. Day-to-day operations there, we have classes every single day, usually multiple classes throughout the day. We have different styles of classes, so power yoga, vinyasa yoga, restorative yoga. We have aerial yoga that you kind of like hang from the ceiling. We also do meditation classes and different events throughout the entire year. So there are also 5 yoga teachers that work there. They're absolutely amazing. My partner, Webb, also helps me with all of the daily operations, the little things that have to be done, HVAC, the ceiling, all that stuff. So, but I take care of all of that, and I'm really proud of it. It's something that I love to do. And I mean, when I say everything, I take care of all of it. I do all of the cleaning, I do the taxes, I do all of the finances, I do the marketing, I do all of it. And it's something that I take a lot of pride in. So, yeah.
Perfect. Let me just make sure we're good here and one last time.
Sure.
Excellent.
Sweet.
All right. So talk to me a little bit about the origins of Shakti Yoga and kind of how it's evolved over time, when you founded it to today.
Ooh, that is a great question. So it's interesting because when I founded the studio, I was 7 years old. I was about 30.
Okay.
I didn't have a child. I was a very new homeowner, and it was very much a physical practice, and I would say that it may have even been a little bit of an ego movement in a way, but the evolution through that is that, I think just sticking with the practice and staying with the practice, I have learned that, the physical is a part of it, of course, but having a daughter, going through COVID as a business owner, meeting thousands and thousands of people, it's really transformed the mission of what we're doing there, and also I guess as far as like the operations, we focus much more now on, we're not here, like we don't do like the fast fads, the new year, new you, we're gonna lose 15 pounds to get better. We focus on, we want you to come a couple of days a week, spend some time with yourself, get your mental health in order, and focus on not so much just the physical, but the mental and the spiritual, right? So like what else is happening inside of the body that's like much more than skin deep, So I think it's moved from that physical into a much more spiritual, not just practice, but business, and evolving from, a 30-year-old, I almost say kid, to a 37-year-old woman who is now a mother and has a family. I think that also shifts who you are as a person anyway. So it really impacts your business too. I think I have much greater of an understanding now why the practice is so important and why you have to be consistent with it and why community is important. I think having a tribe is, especially in the days that we are living in, it's so important to have people that you can lean into, that understand that, life is hard, but if we do it together, it's not so hard, Like Michael Franti says, life is better with you. Makes it just a little lighter, a little easier. So that's what it's transformed into. It's not just a business now. when I opened this is my life's work and a legacy that I'm trying to imprint into this area to leave here for my daughter and her generation and that community.
Let's talk a little bit about like outside of yourself personally and now into the industry. You know, you in the past 7 years, you've seen that, I mean, the industry has changed a lot in the past 7 years, and especially in the sense that growing up and being around it as much as I have as well, it's gone from where it was kind of a fringe, you know, crunchy hippie type thing to now, you know, it is very much like you can go to a grocery store and find health and wellness beverages, and you can find all the different accessories that also accompany this lifestyle that used to be really hard to access. And so you used to have to, you know, go to natural food stores, and you had special places where you could go to get those things that you need to kind of live that lifestyle. And with that, what's it been like in working in this industry now, seeing kind of, not mainstream in a bad way, but seeing more people exposed to what you're doing? And the benefits of it is what I'm trying to get to.
Yeah, so I think there has been a surge, for sure, I would say, especially post-COVID, in people understanding the importance of taking care of themselves. And I think that whenever there's like a surge in anything big like that, you also then have these companies, corporations, or, you know, otherwise larger entities that will then feed into that surge in a way. So, you know, it, like you said, you don't have to go to the outskirts to find the things that you need. You can just go to your local store. You know, yoga studios are much more popular than they used to be before. You know, THC products, cannabis products, CBD products, things like that. They're all much more accessible than they have ever been. And I think that it's a wonderful thing. I think it's really great that it's exposed, you know, to more people. I say anything that gets them in the door, even, you know, I always joke that I was tricked into the spirituality. It kind of goes back to like the opening and it being more physical and fitness. And then you get tricked into the spirituality part of it. It's just like that with, you know, I think for some people with the wellness, they kind of get tricked into it. They start like, okay, well, maybe I'll just not eat gluten. And then, you know, and then it starts to roll a little bit. And I think it's absolutely amazing. Yeah, so I think that in this area, we've seen a surge, but it's a fight. It's a fight to get people to understand the importance of investing in their health. You know, I hear it all the time. Oh, $20 is a lot for a yoga class. Well, do you know how much a hospital bill is going to be when...
It's your copay.
Yeah, you know. So, and it's no judgment, but I just think that people are starting to understand, I think, more about that investment, and we're working hard to continue feeding that to them, and hopefully that they'll receive it.
For me personally, I lived a very luxurious life of decadent food and whatever I wanted and whatever I drank and put it all on in here and then I started cutting those things out a couple years ago, and I started. It wasn't my experience in COVID was very much isolated in what I was doing for work, and then when I came out, it was very much it turned into that. Where during COVID, it was very much it wasn't that it shocked my lifestyle. So I wasn't out to eat all the time. I wasn't doing all those things. And then what it did was it also forced me to stare in the mirror all the time. And as you're staring in the mirror and you're looking at your body and you're doing all these things, it's not a vanity thing as much as it was exactly what you're saying. And you start looking at the data and realizing who's getting sick and all those things. And then as you start to see, now one of the things that was always my struggle, and I dealt with weight issues all my life and health issues of like, for me, it was alcohol. I drank so much alcohol, and that's where a lot of the weight came on, and then the subsequent things that you eat after you consume so much alcohol.
Soak it up. You know?
When I hit that lifestyle shock, and all that other stuff ended, it kind of like you said, it's being tricked into it. It wasn't. I didn't go looking for it.
Right.
And then when I started to be able to break my own cycle of routine. That took a long time, and I think that's the biggest thing that I try to stress, and I wanted to talk a little bit about today is like taking something as a recreational or as a holistic lifestyle, whether you're just doing it for fun to release your stress 2 days a week or 1 day a week, or you're really every day going into it. How do you explain to people and keep the motivation and the resilience going, knowing that it's not an instant gratification? And this is my biggest struggle in it. And that's why I have many stints in yoga in my life.
Yeah.
But not until recently has the consistency come in, and only over time of consistency have I seen the results. And how do you kind of work with people who might come in for, like you said, the fad in a month or two, and then they're like, it didn't work, I didn't lose the weight, I didn't feel healthy, whatever they say.
Yeah. So, sort of two-part answer to that. So the first part is that.
Apologize for the loaded question.
No, it's okay because I received it all,
Cool.
and so I think the first thing is that I've being in business now almost a decade. I have learned that there are some people that just want to tap into it, see what it's about, maybe just give it a try, and I'm always welcome to that. I want that for them, and we'll always create a space for them. But there's also, I think, a very clear line of energy where you're like, okay, this is not something that they're going to continue partaking in, and you just have to let them go with love. But obviously we want them to stay, and we try our best to get them to stay. And when I have students that maybe don't find the inspiration to continue moving, because consistency is hard. Motivation's easy, right? Like anybody can motivate themselves. I say it all the time, but to be consistent, to wake up and to do the thing that you have to do and should do, but you don't really want to, that's really hard. But I say to that there has to be a reason why you're doing what you're doing. And I think just like you said earlier, during COVID, it kind of shocked your system, and it brought to your attention maybe, brought to the surface like what you needed to work on and what you needed to let go of to get better, what you needed to bring more of into your life to get better, and sort of created a why for you. So now you're like, okay, I know I have to do this. This is very important to me, and there's a purpose for your practice. That's what I always say. When you create a purpose for your practice, you're going to get up and do it. I teach 3 classes a week at 6 a.m. Do I want to do that? Absolutely not. But I understand the importance of the consistency, and it's one of the best practices for me. It also keeps me out of the bars the night before. So I have to get up and work at 6 a.m. Then I can't drink the night before. So what I encourage students to do is to create that why. When you wake up and you're like, I don't really want to do it, you have to understand why you're doing it. And for a lot of people, they struggle with making that connection of why it's so important to do the things that maybe you don't want to do, or even the simplest practices, like every day, like gratitude practices, saying thank you to people, opening the doors for people, certain things like that. Those are practicing yoga as well. And they are important because they create these ripples. So I try to just encourage them to create the why, to find the purpose for their practice, and to even reach out when they're feeling like they don't want to do it. Like a lot of times there's a resistance, there's a barrier, and if you maybe even just express it and talk about it, you might be able to kind of pull back that resistance layer and move through that barrier a little bit. So reach out. Trying to see if there's any more to that.
Well, I'm gonna elaborate on where you're going with that.
Okay.
I'm gonna stick to elaborate a little bit for me with helping people understand too when it's not. So I'm gonna go back to my own experience as well and speak from my experience. I treated it prior as like going to the movies. That's what I'm gonna say. There was no prep, there was no wind up, there was no mental shift, there was no anything like that. You would go, show up at the show time, and then leave when the show ended, and then your life went on. Until I made it, and I want to elaborate on the point of the ripple effect. Until I started understanding the other pieces of it. So talk a little bit about what beyond the mat, let's call it. All right, let's talk about what yoga is and what that lifestyle and the practice is beyond the mat and beyond the 90 minutes or the 60 minutes that you're spending in that room.
Yeah, that's a great question. And it's interesting because I think it's something that most teachers touch on a lot when they teach. So I think you don't have to be a perfect person to be a yogi off the mat. You don't have to be a sober person to be a yogi off the mat. You don't have to be anything but who you are, like exactly as you are in that authentic state, to be a yogi, whatever that even means, right? But to practice yoga off of the mat is to, yoga itself is to yoke, to bring together, to connect, to union. So any time that you can bring together the moment, That's practicing yoga off your mat. Being kind to others, giving people grace when you know that they may need it. Being kind to yourself, opening up that same grace for yourself when maybe you have made a mistake. Maybe you're on a journey and you mess up one day. Don't be so hard on yourself. Just get back to it. You know what I mean? Keep showing up as who you are, because a lot of us are going through the same exact daily struggles, right? But nobody wants to talk about it. A lot of people, for whatever reason, rooted in some sort of fear, don't want to talk about it. So we all just kind of walk around like we're okay, we're doing this thing, yeah. But inside, we all really have something that we want to talk about, something that is weighing us down, that maybe we just want to shake off our shoulders. And I think practicing yoga off of the mat is giving people the space to be exactly who they are at any given time, all the time, and accept them for that. Just create that space for them and stay open and welcome to receive who they are. And I think we struggle a lot with that because we want to be comfortable a lot of the times, and to be comfortable a lot, myself, I'm guilty of this. Others have to kind of be who we want them to be and how we want them to be in order for us to be comfortable. So I think, learn to get a little uncomfortable. And I think that getting a little uncomfortable can help you learn a lot more, not just about other people, but about yourself, right? Because ultimately, that's what the yoga is, learning more about yourself and how you can just be a better human and show up in the world as that better human for other humans to get better. That's the ripple effect, right? It's it's not about being perfect. It's about hey man, I see you, I hear you, I feel you. Let's work through that shit.
It sounds like, and this is completely organically right in the moment, but it's I really am kind of feeling a little differently talking to you in a good way. It's it's really actually you're helping me understand a little bit better. Is that it's not about the perfection as much as it is the presence. It's not perfect, but it's being present. Yeah. And once you're present, because presence is imperfection.
Absolutely.
If you're
and
actually
it
present in
sucks
the moment,
a lot of the
right?
times.
And that's a fascinating way to. I've never had anybody explain it that way to me that you just did about tying it into being present and being present in the moment. Because when you're present, if you're actually truly present and you block out all the things and all the stereotypes and all the other things, and you're present with a human being in their exact moment, you're forced to eliminate all that bullshit.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And I think that if we just all stopped and just talked to each other a little more, there would be so much less friction. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And that's something that my partner has. This isn't like a self created thing. My partner Webb has taught me a lot about that. He has dealt with so much diversity and craziness in his life, but he still just shows up as this, amazing, wonderful, kind, caring, helpful person. And I'm always like, well, how do you do that, But he's so present. He doesn't go to the yoga studio and get on the mat every day. He works 50, 60 hours a week, but he practices yoga every single day. Every single day. He is so present for me, present for our family. And I think, that's yoga, right? Being present without trying to be perfect in every single moment, and just being wildly uncomfortable most of the time, but growing. That's where the growth is. And that comes from the lineage of yoga that we practice. So I kind of may have skipped over it earlier, but Patanjali is the practitioner that I follow. And it is an 8-limb path of yoga. And through those 8 limbs of yoga, and which is off of, yoga off of the mat, you reading scripture, practicing these different, the yamas and the niyamas, which are ethical guidelines that you practice, sort of restraints that you hold for yourself and restraints that you hold for others. And that's how you also practice yoga off of the mat, and just being mindful. The number one rule they say is non-judgment, which is, it's so hard, right? You're like, fuck, that guy just cut me off, And it's like, you have to keep bringing yourself back to, all right, well, that was really judgy, and that was kind of an a-hole move, but, I'm not perfect, and just move on. Just the moment's over, let it go, and move to the next thing.
Let's talk a little bit about when you started Shakti Yoga. What were some challenges in the beginning when you had started that?
Well, I definitely was not planning on getting pregnant.
Okay.
So,
that'll throw a kink in things.
Yeah, absolutely. But that was
in a good way.
Oh yeah, absolutely. It was the best thing that's ever happened to me. But I think anybody who's ever experienced that, can relate to that, and it was a challenge. So I had been in business for about 8 months when I found out I was pregnant.
Oh yeah, so you're in the heat of it. There's no turning back at that point.
Yeah, at that, yeah, and I'm locked into a lease,
Yep.
and things were going great. People were signing up. All these things are going good. That's 2018. We get all the way through 2018. I have my daughter in 2019, so that took me away, and it was very challenging trying to balance being a new mom, a new business owner. I didn't have a lot of people working for me at the time because I was very new. And I also, again, it was so ego driven. I thought I could do it all myself. I was trying to do it all myself. And it didn't take long before that kind of fizzled out. I did have a lot of help, which I'm super grateful for. But it, of course, just wasn't, it fizzled.
Mm-hmm.
I needed more. And I think that was kind of my rock bottom as far as being a business owner. Struggling through that whole first year of her being born. And then, of course, 2020, COVID hit. So, I'm like, okay, my daughter's gonna go to daycare in February. This is gonna be great. I can get myself back to work. This is so exciting. And then March 13th, I'll never forget it. We get an email from the state of Delaware that we cannot operate our business any longer until further notice. And so then I had to shift. What do you do? You're like, okay, well, we're gonna go online. I'll record the videos from the studio with my 1-year-old daughter in a bassinet in the corner, and this will be great. It's all gonna be so good. And it wasn't. It was, I got through it, but it was a disaster. It was very stressful, and I think trying to be, and this is where you learn about the not being perfect, right? I think, oh my God, I'm so terrible. I look like shit. I just had my daughter. My body's not the same. I don't feel right. I can't move the same way, but I have to make these videos. And I felt like a complete failure. I was like, I'm just failing all the way around. And that was when I learned to lean in and to ask for help and to receive the help. That's a whole other, you can ask for help all day, but sometimes it's hard to even receive it. So asking for help, receiving the help, and that was the aha moment for me. End of 2020, beginning of 2021, that slow and steady wins the race. And the only way that I'm going to be able to do this is with a community. There is no possible way I'm going to be able to do this by myself. And I started, slowly but surely giving more to people that I trusted, that deserved it. And it was one of the best decisions because now I have an amazing group of people around me all the time that I can always rely on for anything. I'm gonna get emotional just thinking about it. A lot of people, it just sucks, to think that a lot of people don't have people that can help them.
It's I'm recently in that as well. So I started this business in 2008, and I was just solo entrepreneur, or whatever they call it these days, up until the spring. So I've been doing it all by myself, and just bringing people in randomly when I can and things like that. And I feel you, and I'm with you. And so I want to talk about on a positive way, and I appreciate you being open, transparent with your emotions on it. And with that part though, being that it is such an emotional thing, and I can tell that, and that's what I get a lot in this, and that's why I have these conversations with people, and that's good, because this is the part that people don't see.
Yeah.
This is the part that people don't understand because we make it look easy. Nobody looks at your job and says, you make it look easy, and this person makes it look easy, but they don't see the behind the scenes. There's a lot of composure that goes on. There's a lot of stress. There's a lot of weight.
Yeah.
Would you say, in your 7 years now of doing the yoga studio, would you say that the biggest transformation you've seen might be that revelation of delegation and because you mentioned a few times about the ego and things like that, and I'm connecting with you on that because that was my issue as well.
Yeah.
I was the only one that could do it, and I was the only one that could do it well. When you finally let go of those chains, would you say that might be one of your biggest revelations in the past 7 years?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Excellent.
Yeah.
I would agree with you on my life too, yeah.
Yeah. Probably one of the top 3 for sure.
And do you feel like, are you already seeing scale and penetration bigger than you ever could?
Yeah.
Yeah, we're in the same boat.
Yeah, I absolutely feel like that definitely helps to, it's like goes back to the ripple effect. You seeing people in their authentic light, giving people, I guess what, if you want to call it jobs, or delegating things to people, and creating that community is what creates the ripple effect, which is what gets things more and helps other people trust, like, oh, well, if she's going to that, and she seems to be having a good time, or she seems to be doing a lot better, then maybe that is something that and I see it all the time. People come, we have events, and they're like, I would have never come to something like this, and now I'm so glad I did. And even students too, they're like, this is something, I meet people I would have never thought if you would have asked me 10 years ago, if you would have told me 10 years ago, hey, by the way, in 10 years, you're going to own a yoga studio, you're going to be practicing meditation almost daily, you're going to have a daughter, a whole ass family, like a mortgage, and you're going to be running a community event, I would have laughed at you. I wasn't active, I didn't practice yoga, I didn't do any of those things. So I think it's the spark, somebody just has to plant the seed, create the spark, and that's community, that's where it goes.
I think it's that, and a lot of times what gets misunderstood sometimes about, from my experience of when people create spaces for people to grow, and I'm saying this in the sense of from a career standpoint, you said about bringing people in of their skill set.
Yeah.
And it's bringing people into their skill set, and from my experience, also not trying to put boundaries on them with my own ego.
Right.
And I did that in the beginning as well, where it's like, okay, I'm going to delegate this to you, but I want you to do it this way. And it's like, and then you're stressed about making sure that they do it the exact same way. And until freaking 6 months probably now, I'd say this is how recent is for me, is really bringing them in and being like, here's the end goal. I don't care the journey and getting it there.
Yes.
I don't care what it looks like. Make it yours. I'm putting trust in you. And so far, I'm batting 1,000 in the past 6 months with putting that trust out there.
Absolutely.
And just being like, I brought you in because I trusted you. I'm going to reinforce that to myself and not overcomplicate things with putting my design into it.
And your stuff, your stuff, your energy of it. And I think too, not allowing past experiences, whether with yourself or with others, be a precedent for future experience. Obviously, we're always kind of reflecting on things that have happened, because that's what keeps you safe in survival and thriving, right? But you also have to be very mindful not to judge the next person or the next experience on the last one. And that, again, that's like the ripple, right? So it can be challenging, but it is absolutely possible. And bringing in, to kind of piggyback off what you were saying, it's a testament to you as well, because you've created this circle of people, and it's a reflection of you. It's a vibrational energy that has run from you to them, and they are going to want to do it well because they love you, they respect you, they honor what you're doing. And I think that also is there's something so big about that who am I, right? Who am I that these people believe also in this? They obviously see the vision because they're with you too, so it's like there's something that's magic. That's pure magic, that you can create something from nothing and then allow yourself to kind of move through the muddle of it all, right? And then come out the other end like, okay, I'm going to try to release, but it's that releasing too. It's just, it levels you up. You're muddled for a bit, you level up, and then you just keep doing that until eventually you feel almost free in what you're doing. And that's a side effect of the work, is what I say. You said earlier something about it looking easy. Somebody can come teach a 45-minute yoga class and make it look super easy, but I guarantee you they've been practicing for 10, 15 years. And people say, they're like, oh, you just make it look so easy. And that's the, reminder to the people too who might just want to jump ship really quickly. Like, this is a consistent practice. Like, the thing that I did in class today took me 10 years to get there. And it doesn't even matter. The pose itself doesn't even matter. It's just the you showing up part. So, it's a byproduct of the work, and it's a testament to you that you even have people that you can rely on and lean into.
And that's something that's the biggest takeaway at the end of the time. Real quick, before we close out with talking about the festival, I'm trying. It's a new thing. Today's the first day I'm going to do it. This is not a ominous, nasty thing.
Okay.
3 songs that you would like played at your funeral.
Okay.
Yeah, and you can take your time. I'll cut it out. Yeah.
All right. So, Pink Floyd, "Shine On You Crazy Diamond," obviously. Papadozio's.
Don't worry, I can't do it either.
Papadozio, we are water.
Oh, nice.
Yeah, that's a good one. And be a close tie between like no, I'll let him keep that. Lotus, it would be Spiritualized by Lotus. Yeah.
All right, excellent.
Yeah.
So we'll go through the list one more time there. So
Okay.
3 songs that you would want played at your funeral.
Shine on You Crazy Diamond by Pink Floyd, We Are Water by Papadozio, and Spiritualized by Lotus.
Nice. All right. Now, we are here at the location
Yeah.
of your upcoming festival.
Yes.
So let's close out and talk about what's coming up and what's a little over a week from now.
Yeah.
You know, that people at this time people will be listening to it will be 1 week away. I'll probably drop this
Yeah.
on Thursday.
Okay.
So I'll say not this weekend, but next weekend.
Awesome.
What can people expect right here on this grass?
All right, so right here on this grass, hopefully lots of people dancing in this area. We'll have this entire amphitheater filled with people watching, enjoying. There are going to be 35 vendors. There'll be food vendors, craft vendors, health and wellness vendors. We'll have Reiki practitioners. I do believe we're going to have a massage therapist out here as well. We will have an entire kids area. So throughout the day, it'll be very kid friendly. I would say between 12 and 4 will be the best time for you to bring your kids. They can stay for the whole event, obviously, but that time between 12 and 4 will have a rock climbing wall. We'll also have a petting zoo. And then we're going to have 3 really big blow up houses, a little obstacle course, and that will be here all day. There's also going to be 3 giant yoga tents. So some of the feedback that we got was that they couldn't find the yoga last year. So we're going to make sure that's not a problem this year. We're going to have 3 gigantic white 20 by 20 yoga tents. They'll be on top of the hill there, and we're going to have one over on the other side of the pond. That will be where all like the meditation classes happen and things like that. So we're just trying to pack it out and bring everybody together to listen to some great music and to practice some amazing yoga from people all over the DMV area and support our local artists. You know, it's like there are so many great artists in this area. So, you know, come out, bring some cash, buy their art, support the mission. It's a sustainable festival, so everything that comes in as far as financials goes right back into the festival. We pay all of our bands, we pay all of the yoga teachers, all of our staff gets paid, our volunteers get, you know, a good energy exchange. It's really important to us that the people who put on this festival are taken care of. That's something I'm sure you know in this industry that you hear a lot. The artists and the people who are actually working really hard to put this festival on sometimes don't get the, you know, what they deserve. So we want to make sure that they get that.
Well, thank you so much for taking the time today. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Appreciate you. Thank you for coming all the way down.
Oh, no problem.
Yeah, that was so cool. Yeah, that was so awesome of you.
Doing it over remote.
We need more people like you out there doing work like this. This is how we're going to create community, right? So we're trying to do it here in Dover. Nikki's doing it up there in Westchester, trying to bring it like together. You know, if we can all support each other, this is how we can make it grow. So
that's awesome. Thank you so
you're
much.
Amazing. Thank you.
No, thank you.
You're so great.
That's perfect.
Oh.